Good evening, or good morning if you're hearing this later. It's quite late. But I'm going to do a little contemplation again. Still looking at the gate of decrease, contraction, gate 41. And it's funny, isn't it, that the name of this gate, which begins new cycles, which holds like every possibility of the imagination for what experiences we could have and what types of experience and what variations of the same experience you could have. And it's called decrease, contraction, which is kind of funny. I've heard it explained, but I don't remember who by, as like pulling like an arrow on a bow and pulling that bow back. So like gotta contract it before you can let it fly. And so this gate, the subtitle of it is The Limitation of Resources, which maximizes development of potential. So, I mean, it's interesting that the end of the rave year is the gate of limitation, which we had last week, gate 60. And then still we're talking about limitation here. We're still in the root center. We're still under pressure. We haven't started the quarter of initiation yet. We have a couple more gates. We have this gate and another gate to go before we get there. So we're still dealing with this question of limitation. And how does limitation affect the experiences that you can have? And you can't if you want to have an experience, you can't be throwing your eggs in all the baskets, right? You got to throw them in one. And that's the idea of contraction here. It's, let's limit what we're going to feel. Let's limit what we're going to experience. And you're not going to run, like a chicken with your head cut off, after everything and anything. Today was a line 2 day, and yesterday was reasonableness, the line 1 being reasonable, and today it just makes so much sense. The line 2 is caution. I mean, that is such a line 2 thing, like leave me alone. Just leave me alone, let me be, let me do my thing, let me have my feelings, let me sort out my own feeling and what kind of feeling and experience I want. And the phrase that's the lifelong learning involved with the line 2 caution is humanism tempered by pragmatism. Just take it in for a moment. It might not mean anything at first, or it might strike a chord. Humanism tempered by pragmatism. And then today I had an experience where it was an imaginative experience. So about a month ago, or a few weeks ago, I experienced a conflict shock, a biological conflict shock, on top of others that I was going through, when I was in the deep of the healing phase for a few conflict shocks, or a few biological programs. I suffered another one that had to do with it being overwhelming to deal with the symptoms, and that overwhelm that got related with one person. I don't want to go into details, but it's the symptoms related to this conflict shock are still hanging healing, as it's called. And I spoke today with a doctor that I speak to who helps with Germanic New Medicine and helps me identify like what happened, where's the tracks or the triggers. And after speaking with him, it became a little clearer, like what the what issue was involved. And then, yeah, I ended up spontaneously, well, I came across something spontaneously the other day, talking about, it was a way to deal with trauma and traumatic events and kind of, in a way, reboot the mind. It's a funny way to say it. That's not how they explained it. But what I took from that, and I just looked at it on the surface, but it inspired me into something using my imagination with regard to this conflict shock. Because if you have a trigger that's related to a shock that you experienced, you'll be stuck in the healing phase, you'll be stuck with something chronic and just living it out like on a hamster wheel, unless the original conflict, all the triggers, all the tracks can get erased, neutralized. And then your body comes out of that, like finishes the healing phase. And so it's just interesting that we're in this gate that, contracts all the imaginative ideas that we can have to focus on one, and using this fuel for imagination to have a look at what happened to me at the moment of that conflict shock. And there's always a lot of charged emotion when those things happen, because you feel alone and you feel taken by surprise, and you feel that it's dramatic. And right away that creates the circumstances for something to play out really strongly in your psyche. It can vary in intensity. It can be quite intense, or it can be so-so. It depends on the nature of the actual event that was the conflict shock. And I needed to look back at it and change the narrative around it. So, I looked at the situation. It was actually just me being in bed, having terribly horrible symptoms that were overwhelming. And there were some other things involved. But I went back and I just saw myself lying in bed, and then I felt all the charge of the feelings. Because when you look back on some event that has caught you by surprise and made you feel in a way overwhelmed, or, what am I going to do about this? How can I deal with this kind of little or big trauma? There's always a lot of feeling around that. There's a lot of emotion around that. And so I kind of let myself just look at the energy charge, the emotional energy around it, without really trying to name it, just looking at it, seeing it. And then I imagined a tornado, because all those feelings felt like a tornado. They really did. Like they were going to sweep me off somewhere, and just I would be lost in the overwhelm of it. And taking that tornado and blowing it up to this this way that I felt it, right? This is so big and overwhelming. I can't handle this. And then little by little, I shrunk the tornado in my mind's eye. I shrunk it and shrunk it and shrunk it until it was like as big as an icon you see on your computer screen. And then I imagined myself in the park looking at this little icon of a tornado, and it was shrunken. And then I stepped back and I put another of me watching me. So it's like I could watch me watching the tornado. So it's just giving myself distance. Like, okay, there is, the felt momentary experience, and I'm like so in it. So let's step back a bit and let's watch it. So, who is watching? Who is the watcher? You get into these questions that really make you go, okay, who am I really? I'm really, actually, I'm not the body. I'm really not the mind, because there's something here that can watch both of them. And so I just visualized that, like, take a step back, take a step back. So it's like a watching Abith, who's watching the little teeny tiny tornado filled with this unuseful energy charge, this emotional charge that had, its purpose at the time and now needs to go. And then I watched her just blow it away, and it kind of was in a garden, so it went through the trees and dissipated, like you watch fog just kind of dissipate, and it was gone. And then I smiled, and I watched myself watching myself smile and then just dancing lightly and happily and joyfully with a light heart, and transforming this feeling that is past, that I don't need to be feeling right now, because there's nothing in reality. And I am there is this sense of like contracting and decreasing. We need to focus to go forward. Like, there needs to be the energy. I'm not talking about the mind necessarily needing to focus, because I don't have a focused mind, but the energy needs to like hone in to move forward in a way that doesn't take extraneous things. I always come back to how Ram Dass would tell the story of, if you're taking worry with you, it's just extra baggage on a trip. It's not a ticket on a fast, like a high-speed, fast-track ticket on a fast train. It's not. It's just extra baggage. So, in decreasing and contracting, in getting rid of these extraneous things, in limiting, you actually, you limit the baggage you take, because we're in a new cycle now. Like, what are you going to take on the journey? And the last month, actually, where the sun passed, the gates that it passed through were opportunities to have a look and see, like, okay, what are my limitations? What are who am I? What limits me? In that, their limits are beautiful, because it hones in on what you truly are, and you get rid of the extraneous stuff of what you're not. And you get rid of the extraneous stuff of, most of what's in the mind. It's not you. Listen to those voices in your mind. They're not you. They are the voices of others over years, passed on from generations, beliefs and opinions and data and ideas that come from this collective mind field. That's a minefield, labyrinth. So contracting, decreasing, limiting, caution. It's about what your feeling is for the experience. You start with that, and then possibly it can be shared. Anyway, I honestly don't know if any of this made sense. Just an experience I had today, and let's see how it works for me. I don't know. It was just something that came to me spontaneously to try. I'm all for trying different things. I've tried a lot of different things over the last few weeks just those different things. So whatever, especially if it brings a smile to my face, makes me feel good, makes me laugh at myself, or see how stupid and crazy my mind is. Like, those are all good things. So anyway, maybe this could be some kind of inspiration for somebody else to try something. But whatever the case, it's an invitation to, let go. Let's let go of the stuff that we don't need, so that we can just be present to what is.